old friend. Worked with him.
Now wait a minute.
Learned
That's
from
not
him.
be old.
I, well, oh, no, old's good. Old, that works. We're both hobbling around.
Ancient.
But we got stories tonight. I mean, you guys are blessed. I mean, you're going to be around here with one of the originators of graphite. I mean, he set the bar and his rod building and everything else. But I think Gary and I have got some stories. You guys are going to you're going to end up with gut aches by the time you're done from laughing. And it just goes to show when you're doing something you really love doing, you not only do it the best, but we had, Gary, we didn't laugh at all, did we?
Oh, no.
Maybe once or twice.
No. It's kind of like the time that we was driving and we went to, I don't know, 8 or 10 or 15 stores that day, and everybody was hungry, so we pulled in, and Ken Wiebe was one of our reps too, and he says, I got to go to the bathroom, but he says, I want a stack of pancakes that big. So I ordered a stack of pancakes that big. so he come in. I thought he was going to fall down in the restaurant. So what does he do? He sits down and he asks the waitress, do you have any sugarless syrup?
Proceeds to cut this stack up here like, and like it's nothing. But you know, when you hang with guys like this, you had to deal with it in that manner. And I mean, we're going to tell stories like this. I mean, that's a good preface. But we got stuff you're going to, guys. You may have to put a pair of Pampers on, maybe too. I don't know. I mean, there's some goodies we're going to hear tonight for sure.
You want me to read a couple comments?
Sure. Oh my God, they're already.
Tyler Tanaka says, legend, single-handedly changed the rod industry. Proud to own Loomis rods since 1992. My very first one. Saved every penny to buy my first IMX bass rod. Thank you for the great products and memories, Gary. Wow.
Well,
how does that make you feel?
Makes me humble.
Yeah, boy, that's beautiful.
And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. 92. Thank you very much, Tyler. I got commission. I got 10% on that one. But you know what? It is very true. It's one of the things that Gary changed. A lot of you know me to drive tackle in different parts of the industry. But, I was doing stuff with Fenwick prior to Gary, and a good friend, Corky Yokoi, who's one of the greatest long-range fishermen out there in the Mississippi, and he's always up on tackle. He says,
Yeah.
Kadota, you got to check out this G Loomis rod. And I said, what is that? Well, I go over to Bob Prescott. Bob was the only one that had them in town.
Yeah,
back.
that's
This
right.
is before I was repping,
Yeah.
right? This is when I was chasing those big bass. And I get over there, and Prescott's all proud as a peacock. He says, check these things out. I go, I heard from a great source. I picked that up. I go, wow, what am I going to tell Dave Myers and Vic Cutter? I said, this is unbelievable. And then when I fished it, it was game over. Right after that, you put me on the national fishing team and the whole deal. And we just exploded from that point. But, to have a rod in your hand when you're specifically fishing with live crawdads, and you got to do that. Although I got some funny stories about taking this knucklehead fishing. I bring out 20 dozen live crawdads, and about 10 dozen are smashed up on the wall of the bank because he's zoom splat, zoom splat.
I got his attention.
Oh yeah, he did. So that's how fishing was when you're fishing with guys like this too. But I'm going to tell you, there was no shortage of laughter, and if laughter extends your life, we'll go forever.
We'll go forever.
But thank you. But you're absolutely right that IMX was the first graphite scrim rod.
Well, graphite.
You could feel everything that crawdad. You could feel the crawdad when he passes gas. You know, so it was good.
Well,
Dan Smith says, hello, Phil, Captain Danny G. Loomis, and all you fine fishing folks watching this evening. Phil, our freezer is almost full with rock cod and lingcod for the next 3 months. Dane says, hey, I'm down here surf fishing in Oceanside and waiting to watch this podcast.
Oh, my God. Thank you, Dane.
Surf fishing session.
Awesome.
That's pretty good. Tyler says, can't wait to hear all about edge rods from the man himself. Thanks for doing this interview, Phil and Danny. Edge rods, take it away.
Well, I kind of ended up with G. Loomis. I've retired 7 times. one time I lasted 6 days in retirement, and I think that was the 6 days that I retired until they talked me into something else. And so, um, what gets me is these new materials come out, and a lot of people don't know how to use them, and so they just poo-hoo them. I remember when uh, who was the big fly company?
Sage.
No,
Orvis.
Orvis. Orvis said, "Graphite's no good. It's going to blow up and put your eyes out." and
Yeah.
2 years later, they had graphite when they could find out where to buy it.
Yeah. Oh.
But it's just it doesn't design like fiberglass did. Fiberglass had a very low modulus, which is stiffness to weight, and a very high strength. Graphite had a very high stiffness per weight and a very low strength. So they had to be designed different. That's why Fenwick had so much trouble in the first couple of years, is because they tried to design it after glass. But about every 6 to 8 years, 10 years, the good old industry would come out with another material that was stiffer and stronger per weight, and we could build a better fishing rod out of it. If you came to me and you said, "This is the best rod I ever fished," what it would tell me is you like the length, you like the action, and you like the power. Now, what can I do to make it better? I can make it lighter in weight. Lighter in weight adds up all of the things that you like in a fishing rod: sensitivity, lightness, quick in casting, and this type of stuff. So what happens is you need a material that is stiffer per weight and stronger per weight, so that I can reduce the amount of material, making the rod lighter, and which makes it more efficient and fishable, and what all of us fishermen looking for in a good rod. So
Yeah, the sensitivity made a huge. I mean, that changed the game for us guys here. The serious guys in Southern California.
Yeah.
When we came to fishing the crawdads, the crawdad will tell you when there's a fish there.
yeah,
And people would tell me, "Get out of here, Kadota." I said, "No, they could tell you. They will respond to it. You couldn't feel it because you didn't have the sensitivity, in the line." Now, had we had Spectra line,
yeah,
had Russ Eisner
On
had
top-
Spectra a
on
couple
top
years
of it.
earlier. On top of that, it would have been unbelievable.
yeah.
But it changed the game because I had to drop everything. It made such a big difference, and the whole network and the focus was on these big trophy fish. But I can guarantee you, virtually every guy that bass fished Southern California had Loomis rods in their boat. If they were seriously fishing for them the trophy big fish,
Yeah.
they had it because it was a game changer.
Well, I just went to the doctor's yesterday. I was telling him. Went to the doctor's yesterday, and guy says, "Edge rods." I had a shirt on. He says, "I just bought one, 10.5 footer. Best rod I've ever fished. I tell you what." And he goes on and on and on about it. And he says, "I got one of your Loomis composites." And I said, "Wow." And he says, "I got a G Loomis and I got a Lima glass." He says, "I bought them all while you was there." But he was so excited, and he was right in the waiting room at the doctor's office, and he couldn't quiet him down.
But
That is great.
but that's the impact.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the impact
Well,
on the
you
serious
can-
deals.
You see it right here.
Well,
on the
you look
message
at that,
board.
and like it says, you talk about the history. Like I said, being in Southern California, Leon Todd made all my saltwater rods, down the street. Before he was Cowstar, it was Saber, and then Dave Myers and Vic Cutter and those guys came. They said, "Listen, okay, Leon will take care of your saltwater rods for the boat, but we'll take care of your bass and your freshwater, fly, trout, whatever,
Yeah.
right?" And they were down here in Huntington Beach. And that's why I think when you first came to the house at La Palma, I must have had 80 or 90 rods from E-glass, S-glass, to first some early composites. And you looked at it.
Remember the time you took me tuna fishing?
Oh, we're gonna get into that.
Oh, are
Yeah,
we?
we are gonna get into that.
Well,
But that was the thing. Yeah.
let me finish up edge, because I think it's really getting exciting now at edge. All the years that I've been making fishing rods, which is 45 or 50 years, I don't know, somewhere in there. I'm now 82 and still designing rods. We got a new material now that I'm so excited about. In the last 50 years, as graphite came out, all of the jumps have been like this. Now we have a new material this time that jumped this far. It's super, super exciting. Remember the stuff I told you about when I got the stuff from who did I get it from? 3M, that 3M resin and graphite. I run some tests on it. I couldn't believe it. I ordered 100 pounds of it. I got the 100 pounds in. The other ones were breaking at 18, 19, 20 pounds, which when I first started at Lima Glass, the same pattern vertically broke at 7 pounds. And then at Loomis Composites, we got it up to 9 pounds. And at G. Loomis, we got it up to 13 pounds. And I had it up to 16 pounds at North Fork Composites. And then this 3M material come in, and I told Brad was working for me then, and I says, just run 3 of them and we'll test them. So he ran them, and then he was getting to the point in time of sanding. He says, Dad, these sound like I can't get them sanded. I said, put a new belt on it. So he put a new belt on the sander. He sanded them. We put them down there. They got down to 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. And then about someplace between 24 and 26, I heard a crack. And it dropped back up to 22. So we pulled it down a little further and it got up to like 23. We heard another crack. And it went back down lower again until it finally broke. And when it broke, it didn't break off clean like they used to break off, With that large scale deflection computer program system that we came up with, every single inch from the tip to the butt was designed for 100% efficiency of that area. So when we pulled those down and they broke, every inch of that blank was under 99% of strength. When that one place would break, the catastrophic shock would break the blank in 2 or 3 pieces. That's how closely they was designed.
Yeah.
Well, these here, they cracked longitudinally. Never seen anything like it in my life.
That's amazing.
And so, like I said, I was so excited. I ordered 100 pounds. I got samples in 7 times, and none of them went over 7.5 or 8 pounds. And I finally called him. I says, I can't deal with this. And I says, when you get it fixed, give me another call. Well, about that time, I get a call from their attorney. And their attorney says, well, you tested the new 3M material, didn't you? Yeah. What'd you find out about it? So I told him exactly what I just told you guys. And he says, well, I hope this doesn't get any magazine, which I had said the same thing to the magazine 2 days before that. Well, I mean, I didn't know. I'm just tell the truth,
Oh, yeah.
And so I called up the magazine. I told them the story, and I said, unless you want to have 3M's attorneys on your book, we better not put it out. So we didn't.
You know what the fact is, though, Gary? The fact is that these guys come to you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody that knows more about it. And that's always been such a great deal over the years. And I was
lucky enough at the very beginning of graphite. I was so consumed in it that I had Boeing's Boeing's engineers and this type of stuff. And then we started building things for Sandia and Los Alamos Lab and Furby Lab, and built the tubes for Reagan's Star Wars and all of this type of stuff. So I ended up with a lot of these engineers and scientists from these different places. And so literally every new material that has came out since then has came to me, and I've tested it for the industry. And I have a 1-year exclusive on this material that we have.
That's pretty
now.
amazing. I I can remember when we started putting in straight saltwater graphites, and we took them out on. This is a funny story. We had such a good reputation because of our warranty section. We do a show with Dan Hernandez, Bobby, you, Ken. We took Hernandez hosted the show, but we had a bunch of, I think, Greg
Herb.
Stotesbury, Herb. We had a bunch of guys on this trip on the Mustang, and we ended up killing them. I mean, it was crazy. But we took out prototype rods that we were going to smoke test.
We had 54 rods hooked up, ready to put a bait on it, and all lined up along the sides of that.
Well, we had one. It was one of the early prototype muskie rods.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't even released yet. Muskie rod, and somebody broke it. We don't know because we had all these guys on the boat. And, and if you have guys that don't fish graphite, if they high stick,
well, he was trying to line the tuna.
Yeah, he's trying to bounce.
And as he lined the tuna went underneath the railing.
A rod,
pulled the rod right on.
I fished the breakwater with, right? And you're going to try to bounce it. So he snaps this thing. So I handed Gary. He said, "What should we do with this?" And he grabs it, throws it over. Well, it was 70, 80 miles, 70, at least 70 miles offshore, right? So, we get back into the dock. We have a great trip, and these guys head back. They fly back to Woodland. I think it was a matter of a couple of days. Like, he calls me, says, "Hey, Danny, remember that rod we threw overboard 100, 80 miles out at shore or whatever it was?
100 miles down into Mexico.
It showed up at the factory. The guy wanted it warranted." I says, "Well, I guess we got a pretty good perception of warranty here at G. Loomis because
he said this is my favorite rod. And I don't know how many fish that I've caught with it, and I just have to have it fixed or replaced because it's my hell. That was the only one in the world. In fact, we didn't at that time because it was a bigger rod than we usually built at that time. I just had a hypalon handle on it. I never put a hypalon handle on it. That's what floated it so well, I think. But
oh my God, the stories!
I gave it to him, and he says, "I'll take care of this." He finally just said that he had a couple rods and there was good warranty, and yes, I found it 80 miles out and 100 miles south.
But what I told him, Gary, I says, it's funny because I was standing right next to the guy that broke that rod, and he goes, "You did?" I go, "Yeah, nice try." But yeah, we had a pretty awesome track record with warranties too. But oh my God.
All right, you want me to catch up on some?
Sure, go ahead. I'm gonna review some of these things.
People watching from Taiwan.
Go ahead.
Joe Ruger says,
my
"Greetings
God.
from Taiwan."
Yeah.
He's watching us. Labwork says Loomis was the one person that changed my whole outlook on rod building and design. Man, the compliments, the accolades just keep coming in. You have made a profound effect on so many people.
Yeah.
And you were talking about Gary with the crawdads. This guy says, "Sounds like kamikaze crawdads to me."
Oh no! With the minute they went in his hand,
That's what I'm saying,
you could try to put a helmet on the crawdad because he would splatter it up against the rock walls.
Fish guy says, "I have 2 LCI rods. One is a 9-foot one-piece bait caster. What is the connection to G. Loomis with these rods, LCI rods?"
Okay. When I brought graphite out in the industry at Lima Glass, I was there for 5 years. I left there, and then I started LCI, and that was kind of a funny thing. My attorney, I was trying to get a name for the company, and we had Fish Hook, a couple other ones, and he kept saying, he says, "You're so excited about these rods and stuff, but you're not very excited about your name." And I said, "Well, God, I had a name, before on it and this type of stuff. And so I just, wanted, he says, hell, just cut the Loomis off and put Loomis Composite and run with it. So that's how we got Loomis Composites in there.
All right, that sounds good. All right, Jeff Saltzman says, I own 5 Loomis rods. My favorite is a 9-foot, 20 to 50 pound jig stick that I wouldn't sell for any amount. Unfortunately, I don't think you make that anymore.
We never did. That was the first
Just
true jig stick.
tell him to send me a letter with
Yep.
the name of the number on the rod, and I'll make one.
There you are. All right.
That
Hey,
was
Jeff,
unbelievable.
just send it to me, and I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah.
Find me on Facebook. I'll get it to Gary.
Oh,
There
my
you go,
God.
man. How can you get any better than that? Cue Ball says, I got a 6-foot, 6-inch glass tube bass rod.
GL2.
GL2 bass
GL2.
rod.
Yeah.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Tyler says, I unknowingly made Danny a lot of money then. I have an entire
Thank you, Tyler.
quiver of Loomis IMX
You the man.
and GLX bass rods, all purchased from J&T Tackle in Simi
Oh,
Valley. Made
Ted-
you a fortune.
Ted was phenomenal. He was a huge supporter. Ted and Ann and all the gang up in Simi. Of course, down here we had Rick Grover and Bob Pratt. I mean, we had a lot. The Longfin,
Well,
we had some great dealers. We
like
had
I
some
said,
good
I made
dealers.
rods for pretty much all over the world. And the Southern California has a bigger group of great fishermen than any place else I know. They just, they got saltwater, freshwater,
Fly,
big game
even,
fishing,
even-
fly
even
fishing,
fly. Yeah.
and this type of
Yeah.
stuff. And they take fishing very seriously.
Well, everybody knows the G. Loomis name, and so I got a funny story that you guys are gonna love. So, Las Vegas, the big shows, the APMA shows and the ICAST shows are in Vegas, and so Gary and Susie are flying in. It's my territory, so Ken and I have to go pick them up, at the airport. So we show up a little early, and I'm watching all these chauffeurs and everything. Now in Vegas, you got an escalator coming down from the landing area, right? Okay. And we're looking at all these guys with signs of their party, right? So I start chuckling, and Ken goes, my partner says, "Now what are you laughing about?" I
you
said,
didn't.
"Come with me.
That's what he
Come,
was doing.
come with me." And so we run, and I run into the bathroom. And Ken and I both hold up these signs as we're at the bottom of the escalator.
And
Now I waited until people got behind Gary and Susie as they're coming down. 'Cause he turned around trying to run back up the hill, but he just put his head down like, "We got him."
that's
And that's what
my
it was
friend.
all about.
Can you imagine
He's
what
lucky.
happens when I
Yeah.
got my enemy?
Oh yeah. Oh no. It went on everywhere we had. Some of these stories, people.
That's
gonna-
friggin' hilarious. man.
Well, that's nothing. You should hear some of these
Wasn't
stories.
Like
hilarious.
this, you don't need any.
Wasn't hilarious when I was on the excavator.
Oh my God, Gary!
Oh,
Friends like
good.
this, you don't need enemies.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Oh, that is great stuff. All right, Cue Ball says he misses Ted also. That was his hometown.
Oh yeah,
shop
he was a
forever.
great guy.
Rob S. Gary, my wife bought me an E6X inshore 7'9" medium heavy before I could use. Tip broke off 4 eyelets down. Not much help with customer service. Can you help make this better?
That
that
was
was
a
it.
G. Loomis.
Oh, okay. That was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a
Or-
while ago. And
And it was at from the ES6. That was nothing that we had. That was
no, that was G.
Shimano
Loomis.
guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
G. Loomis
Yeah,
Shimano
yeah.
slash Shimano.
Yeah. And
yeah.
and the other day, a friend of ours had a rod, and 2 guides broke off of it, and so my wife was going to just rewrap it for him. So she went down to G. Loomis to get a couple guides because we don't have those model of guides.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let her in the front door, and and so she
Oh my God.
pounded on the door a little bit, and pretty soon somebody came out and talked
Oh.
to her and says, "Geez, I'm sorry, Mrs. Loomis, you're going to have to send those to Arkansas or Georgia or someplace like that, and then they'll send them back to us, and then we'll fix them. Then we'll send them back to them, and then they'll send them to you."
Oh, yeah, unbelievable.
All right. Hey, this one, Gary's going to like this question. By the way, hit that like button, everybody. You need to hit that like button so these two grown men don't break into tears because they don't have enough likes. All right, Gary, this one's for you. Let's hear your funniest, most humiliating story about Danny. And he's ready to laugh, he says.
He's heard that. I told him that one.
I think
Up at your fishing hole when
Yeah.
you let me go in that sinkhole. Oh my God!
it was your fault.
No,
It was your
dirty
fault.
rat.
Anyway,
He set me up.
we're going out to this place that I don't take
He
very
grew
many
up
people.
where he grew up as
This
a kid.
is where I grew up,
Secret
and I learned
spots.
to fish for trout in this pond. And you know, fishing there for 40 years, I really did find a really nice little pond that these fish had come up in, and we caught some beautiful cutthroat in there. And so on the way down, we drove down, and I was talking about telling them all the stories, and Ken and I was in the front, and Danny's in the back.
With Herb too, was I think.
And he's not talking very much. The little shit's rigging up. Yeah, he's rigging up, you know. So when I finally get there and we get out to start to rig up, Danny just runs right on down, runs out there to the thing. So if we hurry up and we get a deal, and he's out there and he's
I hooked
fishing. So we went out. We kind of walked right out to the side of him, you know, a little bit. You know, it kind of crowded him out a little bit. It was just a little gravel deal that went out into this pond, and on both sides was nothing but
sinkhole.
marsh. And so anyway, he kind of got off to the side, and he started sinking out on one foot, and then he started saying, "You guys," and we didn't say nothing.
You'd think he'd help when the hat floated
until
off.
his hat floated off. Then we finally.
You know,
about
these
that
are
one.
true friends, guys.
I can
And these
see
are
that.
these are what make the fishing stories
Yeah.
great. You know, it's unbelievable. You know, and it never ended.
I think another one was. I had the only credit card in them days. We was all poor, so we didn't have money to buy stuff. It was on a credit card, or you didn't get it. So I was a little late in getting down to the San Mateo show. So he calls me on the phone. He says, "Gary, we didn't get a hotel early enough. We can only get 2 hotels. One of them's $96, and the other one's $13. I says, $13. How many of us are going to be in there? He says, 5 or 6 of us. I said, holy jeez, $96. I said, we got to take tonight. If we're going to have 5 people in one room, it can't be a $13 room. So we said that. So anyway, they picked me up at the airport, and we drive in, and as we circle in, go into the parking lot, I look to the right, and here's a swimming pool that's drained. It's got cardboard boxes in it and a tricycle that's missing a wheel. I knew right then that he had me. We got the $13 room for 5 of us. So we get ready to go up into the room, and Herb Good is another one of our friends. And his bait boy that he has up there in Alaska, he just grabbed the top spread deal off the bed and wadded up in the corner. Now, it did have a queen-size bed in it, but there was that much room on the right-hand side, and the other was to the wall, and there was just enough room to get around the side, and the bathroom was a little square cubicle that was built on the outside. That's what you get for $13. So Herb turns around, takes all of his clothes off, and jumps right in the middle of the bed. So
I hope you're watching, Herb.
So the fight was on. I mean, we all jumped on him, grabbed the sheet, rolled him up in the sheet with his arms down to the side, and threw him in the middle of the bed. And then we all slept in the bed. I can't sleep like this. My arms are going to sleep. Let me out. Nope, you're the one that started it. So that's how he slept the first night. We got the $96 room the next night.
You know, we have another great one, and a lot of these centered around shows that we did. You know, we usually start out at the Fred Hall show down here, and then the next day we had to be up in San Mateo, you know, to do the San Mateo show. So we're gonna be tough guys, right? And anyway, we're done with Long Beach. I'm gonna fly up. Ken, Herb, and Gary are gonna drive up to San Mateo. They pick me up at the airport. Then we always do our Costco run, get all our goodies and whatnot. He's getting his little jellies, Danishes, and stuff like that. And we're all getting our goodies, right? So he's got, you know, that platter that's about this big with all the jelly fillings and stuff. So, you know, we're thinking, I don't know how Gary's going to survive this show. I'm all right. I can do it. You know, and he gets in his old squealy old voice, right? And so we get up there. He's already a little bit owly, right? So Gary has his luggage. He has his little big case of Danishes, puts it right in front of the door, puts the key in, turns the key, and Ken pushes the door open, steps on his Danish, jelly squishing out the sides. And I thought he was going to cry. Literally, I thought he was going to cry because his Danishes got hurt. He quietly picks it up and walks off. He gets another room and wouldn't tell us what room he was in. He was a tough guy. He's not so tough. He showed the biggest weakness at that point. But that was our judge. I mean, we tested each other like you can't even believe. People won't believe.
Oh my God, you two are out of control. Donovan says 2 legends sitting there at that table. He's right, man. Scott Bugert wants to know: do you have Wahoo rods with edge? Or do you have rail rods? Do you have any of that?
We have quite a few of them now. Best thing to do is to get on the internet. And like I said, I have a new CEO now. I stole him from Microsoft. And he speaks 6 languages. He's super, super brilliant. He's the only guy that I've taught everything that I know in this deal, and he's been able to consume it and understand it and fly with it. So, like I said, he's done all of the internet himself and this type of stuff, and that's the very, very best way. But right now, in just a short time, I guess it's been not a short time, but it's when you're having fun, time flies fast. But we have now 9 different countries. We have shops in those 9 different countries that sell all of the deals. And France has been unbelievably, it and Italy have been unbelievable on those kind of rail rods. They're fishing a lot of these bluefin tuna in the Mediterranean,
yeah.
out of a probably a 10-foot blow up boat, and
That's a
standing
challenge.
and no chair,
Oh, geez.
standing with spinning rods, and the spinning rods have a 50-pound test on the drag, and so we've designed a lot of rods for them, and they've just loved them. So we do have them. I just, like I said, I have no idea how many rods we have, but I can't. I get hot on a rod and I design it and I get it until it finally is just right. Then somebody is saying, no, we need this kind of a rod. So,
all the regions all have different mandates for them.
Yeah,
they fish differently, right? They use spin, where ours is all casting here.
Yeah.
Well, the East Coast will use stuff like that too. So
but the thing that I've really noticed in the last 15 years anyway, if not 20, that your actions are your rods. You've got You've got modern actions, you've got slow actions, you've got uh, fast actions, extra fast actions. But a lot of times, that's not just exactly what you need either. There's a reason that these top bass fishermen and top fishermen in almost every deal, a few of them catch more fish than the rest of them. You know, you really get down to it, I think 10% of the fishermen catch 90% of the fish. And the reason is they know how to work that bait or work that lure to the point of time that it does what it needs to do. And so we have put this into a lot of our rods now where the tip does one thing and probably the top 6, 8 inches, and then the midsection for the next 20 inches does something else to be able to keep the plug from cavitating or whatever is what these guys are doing, the way that they retrieve them and move their wrists. So we've added a lot of that type of stuff into these rods that we didn't know what they got to tell you what they need before you can design it. And that's why I've designed such good rods, I hope, over the years, is because I had really good fishermen that fished them and would tell me what they needed for the rod to do. And so that was that. And so it's just taken years for them to add on a couple extra little things that they want to see that they didn't know we could put them into a rod. I got to go back to a rod. A lot of people know Buzz Ramsey. Buzz Ramsey fished for Lure Jensen for many years. One day he come up and he used the hot shot rod. The hot shot got to be a big deal in steelhead fishing. And he was using a fly rod to run this hot shot. And I says, what? And he says, Gary, I can't find a rod that tip chatters. Just the tip's got to chatter. When that tip is chattering, I get 90% of my bites. If it does this, I don't get anything. It's got to chatter. And I said, well, I can make you one that'll chatter. So I made one. Oh, he says, it chatters good. It chatters good. I said, well, what's the matter with it? Well, if we get into a higher current and it's chattering and we get into a higher current, then what happens is it wants to cavitate that plug, the fish just poof right off of it. So you didn't tell me that. So I fixed the next 12, 14 inches of it. And I gave it to him. He took it out. He says, oh, God, Gary. He says, that baby chatters beautifully. I hit heavier water. It pulls it down. I get into softer water, it comes back, and it's chattering the whole way. I said, well, what's the matter with it? He says, well, Gary, I need more power in the butt. Well, we hook these fishes right on the tail out just before it goes over. If I can't control that fish and it goes over, I lose another hole to fish. So I've got to have more power. You didn't tell me that. So I made him another one, and it ended up being called the hot shot rod. And I said, how do you like it? He says, don't change it. Don't do anything to it. Just make more of them. So you got to get the information back from the fishermen of exactly what they want.
You know, I got to say that reminds me about some of the fishing with some of these the guides and stuff. Of course, Herb, Ken, and I fished with. Herb and we fished with Herb Good, Gary, Ken, and I a lot of times, and Herb is just a character like you can't even believe. But I can remember one time, folks, we're steelhead fishing down in Oregon. Remember that one? And there's pollen coming out of trees.
Oh yeah.
And when we're done with the day, Herb's telling me, "Hey, Danny, go get my boat." And I kid you not, my eyes are swollen shut, and I said, I can't see. It's weird. I says, Gary, come with me. You got to help back the car back Herb's truck, brand new Chevy truck, raised. brand new rig, boat, the whole deal. Hook, his dog always went with it. So he had a brand new little doggy bed in the back of the camper shell there. And I said, Gary, you got to go put the boat back in on the ramp there, right? Gary goes up, and now, mind you, my eyes can barely open, but
when
they
you're
were
back,
open enough to know that the whole trailer is completely underwater. And when you see just little tiny bubbles coming out of the truck, well, half the
it
Oh,
was neat. It was kind of like a waterfall when the water come over the tailgate, into the back of the truck.
Hook's doggy bed was floating in the cab, and Herb, being the cool guy he was, he never said a thing. All he goes is, "Why? Why did you give the keys to Gary?" I says, "Herb, my eyes were shut. I couldn't even see." He goes, "Well, you still could have done a better job." But we didn't laugh any time when we went fishing, did we? Another time, we're down by his house salmon fishing, and the Super Bowl had just finished off. And we were fishing with Harris Martin and Kevin Fagan of the 49ers, right? And so Herb wants to brag to all his buddies on the Lewis, "Hey, look who I got in the boat," right? So he pulls up to his buddies and he's doing the introductions. He goes, "Oh, yeah, okay, you guys all know Gary Loomis. And this is Ken Weby, one of the reps." And he says, "Well, this is Harris Barton, offensive tackle for the 49ers, Kevin Fagan, defensive end for the 49ers. He looks at me and goes, "When last night we had Chinese food over in La Center and we liked the cook so much, we brought them." and it was unbelievable. But we never, ever had a problem laughing anytime we fished. But it was unbelievable.
All right, somebody here, you better watch a piece of cues.
Yeah.
Gail Kadota. Phil, if you need the truth about these two, Susie and I are ready to take a ride down there and set everything straight. Just let me know. Let's just keep it as a blackmail for now, Gail, okay?
And keep my daughter away too, because she went to a lot of those with us.
Oh yeah, we had some funny stories in Denver. But
my God.
But you had a good one. Gary and Susie took us up. They had the remember the Mariners, the seat you had, the
oh yeah, the
super
Mariners
seats.
baseball game.
Yeah, but with the Diamond Club seats, right? So Susie's driving and Gary's in the front, and on the way home, Gail takes off her shoes. Gary starts kicking. I mean, we laughed from Seattle all the way back to Woodland. On that basis.
I don't know. They're listening. I don't think we better tell that one.
Well, you might as well get even.
Huh?
She just...
Anyway, she said it. She said it wasn't her feet, but I gotta tell you, I think it was her feet. She says, "No, it's the shoes." And I says, I says, "I just got them." I said, "Now you're telling me that brand new shoes smell like what we're smelling? I can't.
Every 2 seconds he's gagging. 2 hours of it.
So what ended up happening anyway? She sent me the shoe or something for a present for Christmas. Stuck up the whole goddamn Christmas tree.
Oh my God!
Oh,
it doesn't end.
Killing me, man.
It doesn't end.
It
does not end.
LabWorks says Australia has always been a great testing ground for new carbon technology. Is that true?
Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
We sell lots of it there.
Tyler Tanaka sends a $20 bill. He's so excited about this.
Oh
Thanks,
my God.
Phil. And I'm going to help you with that.
All right.
Thanks, Phil and Danny. Gary, I now live in Knoxville, Tennessee. Can you please recommend your best all-around model, weight and length, edge fly rod for this area? He's talking small to medium brookies and rainbows mostly.
Small streams or big streams?
Well, why don't you handle both?
Well, small streams are 7.5 foot 4 is really a good little small stream rod for those. If you get into the little bit bigger water, our 9 foot 4 weight is probably the best one for that.
All right, sounds good.
And maybe I shouldn't even say this, but
go ahead.
this new material, we're just working on a new line of blanks for this new material. That the ones we got now are superb and would put them up against anybody's. But again, the materials are what you know. You can make something better out of better material. That's all there is to it. So we're working up our new line of rods out of this new material.
All right, sounds good to me. Gary Bush says, hey, Gary, I'm with Lama Glass, but I still love the GL2 and the GL3 rods.
You know, those were great rods at that time, and we sold 1 million of them. But these new rods, they're lighter, they're quicker, they're more sensitive, and it's just like, you know, me and my wife been married for 68 years, and I love her dearly, and I'd never trade her for anybody. So that's what happens in a fishing rod. You start fishing it, you love it, and this type of stuff, and you sometimes don't look up and see the next thing down the pike. And these new rods, they are better.
You better not look down the pike, or you're going to get in trouble when you get back. I tell you. Hey, State Bermudas wants to know, Gary, what is the difference between building a fly rod and a spinning rod?
Well, not much difference. You find the spine first and make sure that the spine is bending up, because that's the weakest place, and the stiffest place is down. Time you put your guides on it, usually pulls it straight, and it dampens quicker. The quicker the rod dampens, the more energy that it will put out.
You won't have the oscillation.
Yeah, you don't have
You
the
don't have the
oscillation or
oscillation,
nothing. A lot of people do it the other opposite way, and I can't even begin to believe why they do it, because I've made them up both ways, and you wouldn't want to fish one that's the other way. But anyway, you know, they say put it on the spine. I don't know what the hell the spine is. I know what the spine is, but I don't know when they say put it on the spine, is it this way or that way? It's the way that it's the hardest way. Have it bent up. That's the stiffest place. If it's casting rod, put them on the top. If it's spinning or fly, put them on the bottom. That's all there is to it. Just it's very, very, really very simple. But it makes a great difference if you don't do that.
All right, good stuff. Labwork says he wants to know if you make a rod for the Australian algae reel. Make a rod for that.
Yes. To get online and take a look, and if there's 2 or 3 of them there, he needs to kind of look what pound test he's fishing, what he's throwing, and if you have any trouble, give a call and talk to Steve at the plant. He'll pull you on the rest of the way.
All right, hit that like button, everybody. Danny, I got the feeling you haven't even gotten to all your stories. So
Oh my God!
go ahead.
I got to tell one about Ken. We went to Las Vegas one time, and we all kind of roomed up together, and I'm with Ken. So we get in the room, and as I walk by, you know, there they had these little stands at the end of the bed to put your suitcase on. And I walked by Ken's suitcase, and he just kind of crowded me out. I didn't think much about it, and I I walked back again, and he just kind of crowded me out. Well, what the hell has he got in there? So we had a wrestling match. Finally got his suitcase open, and here's a hose and a rubber hose and a rope. And I says, Ken, I'm not into this. I'm out of here. I'm going to go. He said, no. I said, no, you better believe no. And I started to walk. Gary, come back. Well, anyway, after I settled down a little bit and thought I knew Ken better than that.
Okay.
Anyway, remember in Las Vegas when they had those fires? Well, his wife
Donna.
came up with, you take the rubber hose and you stuff it down the toilet when it comes up into the air deal, then you can breathe fresh air. I don't think it's very fresh, but fresh air without the smoke. And the rope, you can get out the window. Well, shit, we're on the 16th floor and it's a 100-foot rope. I figured the only thing we could do is cut it into foot sections and sell it, to somebody, because sure in hell wasn't going to help us get out of a 16-floor room.
The show, doing all those shows, fishing shows, all these years around the country, we had so much fun. I can remember one time we were in Denver, and we're all fighting for a spot. Well, Jody ended up taking the loft, his daughter. She took the loft up on top, so there's Gary, Ken, and I downstairs. So Gary and I took these two beds, and Ken got the Murphy bed, the wall bed, right? So Ken's sitting on the bed.
Well,
Gary looks at me, and I look at him, and we just go into the wall. And Ken's upside down into the wall. Guys, Gary, you hear anything, Gary?
Nope.
Nope.
But what it was is that was the best bed. So he just jumped in the middle of the bed. This is my bed.
Yeah, well,
if
not
your
so
bed,
great when you're in the wall.
We just tilted it up.
We have hundreds of these
Then we
stories.
said, well, let's go get something to eat. And so we walked and opened the door and shut the door and was real quiet. You guys, I can't breathe. I know you're in there.
No, we didn't have any fun at these shows, folks. Feel pity on us. I guess that's the bottom line, Gary. Doing what we loved, it really wasn't work.
No.
And you take it to a different level. You really do. I mean, and even when we got serious, like we were an all tackle, company. We did everything, and we had phenomenal fly rods. But we get downplayed a lot of times by the fly market.
Yeah.
And they had certain things, and back then, you'd watch a lot of the fly. And hey, your friend Nick, our friend Nick,
Chris, you know Nick?
We all
I knew Nick.
But fly guys all had the earrings. They had a little ponytail. They had all this stuff going on. So, most companies, when you make a fly fishing outfit, you have a line, a starter reel, some flies, and things like that. So I came into Denver one year before our meeting, and we're all in the booth, and and these fly guys all had ponytails that they'd have on the hat. So I had this ponytail into a hat where you can put it on. I had a pipe, so it smelled like you're a pipe, tweed jacket with little patches on this corner, the whole deal. And so like our rep force, we're dying laughing because, we do all tackle too. I mean, a lot of us fly fish too, but I loved it, but it's a different mode of fishing, right? It's not a way of life. With them, it was a way of life. So anyway, we have our fun. We put that away. The doors open to the show in Denver. First guy comes in the booth, got a ponytail, earrings. Everybody, I think he was the only one standing in the booth. But we were all dying. We all had to leave the booth because we were dying. But, we didn't have any fun, did we?
Hey, Gary, do me a favor. Nick was my sociology professor at Loyola. I just saw him.
I'm
recently.
sorry.
Look in there and say something to Nick because I'll shoot this to him later on.
Nick,
tell a funny Nick story.
Nick, I love you, but you was different.
Well, Nick, you were a fly guy.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd sure like to see you again.
Oh my
We'll get to one of the shows, or give me a call. We'll chew the fat.
No, we didn't have any fun at all.
Couple ones I want to tell, kind of on Danny and Herb. One day I get off the plane, and Herb and Danny said, "We're in trouble." I said, "What do you mean we're in trouble?" "We're in big trouble." "What is the matter?" He says, "We got a pro shop that is selling our fly rods at cost." And I said, "Well, what's the problem?" "Gary, they're selling our fly rods at cost." I says, but I don't understand what's the problem. He says, Gary, we've made everybody kind of hold the price and this type of stuff. These guys are selling them at cost. Yes, I understand, but what's the problem? Oh, he's kind of like I'm crazy. So we go into the show. He takes me over to the booth. Geez. I said, this is a good buy. This is a good buy. I said, do you have any more of these? Yeah, I have 2 more of them. So I took that and I just wrote him out a check. And it says, this last rod you'll ever buy from us. And I walked off. I said, now what's the problem? There isn't no problem. So
Oh
so
god.
that happened to another shop that was one of our mega shops in Bath. And
Mhm.
he had just bought a new shop in Las Vegas. Well, I just got a shop in Las Vegas. So we didn't want 2 shops in Las Vegas. And he says, well, I'll just take some of my rods to the shop and I'll put them in there. I said, no, you won't. If you do, we'll stop buying. Well, there was a mega shop. So, I mean, that was, there was only a half a dozen of them in the whole United States. Anyway, all of a sudden, we seen them there. So I came into the show and I says, I'll take your rods back and I'll, write you out a check. I said, I don't want no check. You're going to take my rods. You're going to pay me cash. Jesus Christ. Here I'm in Los Angeles, or I don't know,
Long Beach.
Long Beach.
Long Beach.
How am I going to get $37,000 in cash?
I know.
So I, so I, so, well, that's no problem. I said, no problem. 37,000 in cash for tomorrow? He says, no problem. So here he comes the next day with a paper sack, $37,000 in the paper sack. I gave it to him, bought him out. We never did sell him again.
That's right. We sent all our pro staff in to buy all the rods back. But it was so funny because that message went across the country, and that really set the tone.
We didn't take
That set the
a
tone.
rod from that show. All of the other dealers came in and heard about it and said, well, I'll take these and I'll take these and I'll take these. They took them
And
all.
that money came from a couple blocks from here.
Yeah.
My brother Tommy, a Maffatano, he had San Pedro fish. Tommy, and then later on, we kind of paid him back. We brought him up, and he liked to shoot. We took all his son, everybody up to Gary's place to go duck hunting, geese hunting, and little Tommy got a big 5x5 elk, and
Yeah.
it was you talk about scratching backs the old-fashioned way. That there was nothing better, but that set the tone for the whole country.
I have a picture of him on my telephone with that 5-point bull.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Nice bull.
Yep, fun stuff, folks.
But that's why I've retired 7 times or 6 times in the last 7 days. Something just keeps drawing you back into it.
Any other stories, Danny?
Well, we don't laugh near enough, But I mean, we could pull stories from year after year, and it's just. I think the moral of the story, folks, is when you're having fun, you love what you're doing. It's not work.
No.
It really isn't. I mean, we did stuff. Sometimes it was by accident, but we did it, and it was, it was a winner. But that was the way to conduct business as far as we were concerned. And yeah, it was no better times than back then, Gary, I'll tell you. Yeah.
All right,
great.
Chuck Zimmer, who happens to be the president, El Presidente,
Hey.
of the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club, says, hey, Gary, what are the big changes you've seen over the years with building rods?
Big changes. Well, I still come back to that material. Without a better material, you can't make a better rod. And not many people know good material from poor material. And then they don't know what to do with it. But I've been, the very first graphite that was out, I started building rods on it. And there was times that we just wadded it up, put it in the oven and baked it and threw it in the garbage. So, I mean, we worked all the way up through it, but that's probably the best. And another thing is kind of like a guy said, you got to put the time in it if you want to have a good rod. And I got to tell you, we are behind in our rods. I mean, so, some of them are 4 months out, 5 months out, but I won't cut corners and make it cheaper and quicker. I tell them that if you want your money back, I'll be happy to send you your money back. And I don't think we've ever had to send the money back, but everybody says, no, you just put me further down on the list. I just want the rod. And I said, I want you to have the rod, but all of the technology that we have in blank building, we've put into the rods. Now we have graphite handles. I looked for 20 years for material better than cork. And it took me 20 years to finally come up with this graphite handle. People don't realize it, no, but cork is an insulator. I don't want an insulator on my handle. I want a conductor of sensitivity. If the reentry capsules that come back in from space, they have the capsule, they have cork, and they have the ceramic on the outside. The cork is the insulator. We've known that for a long time, but I mean, I tried every kind of plastics and foams and this type of stuff, and nothing worked until we finally figured out how to get a woven sleeve and then find the right type of material on the inside that will create more sensitivity. It's kind of like a thermos bottle. It creates more sensitivity, and when you pick it up and feel it, you can feel one with cork and you feel one without. And the cork handle in 2 days of fishing looks like it's 100 years old. That graphite handle still looks good. A lot of people poo-hooed it, but a lot of people are now building it. It's just like graphite. At the very beginning, the people that didn't know how to design graphite poo-hooed graphite. Well, now they're poo-hooing the graphite handles. But for the sensitivity and the warmness, you pick it up, and in 5 seconds, the handle is the same temperature as your hand. You pick up a wet cork handle, it's wet and cold all day long. But this stuff here is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think one of the things too, Gary, found out with the implementing graphite handles is that because of the rigidity of it and the way if you foam it or however you secure it inside too, or different points, the thing is your shutoff point goes to wherever that foregrip goes to.
Yeah.
It stiffens it, it becomes an integral part of that rod. So for us, in the sense of tuna, what I've been able to do is if I could take the same blank, add a couple inches instead of a 30-pound rod, now it's a 40-pound rod. You don't add, I mean, you can't even decipher the amount of weight, it's so light. But it shuts that rod off, and we have a lot of footage of that from our Freedom trip. It was all straight graphite handle, folks. And so it allows you to make a different rod by extending it just a couple inches, and it's just amazing. So that is definitely the future as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, I got one more story on that. I went to Denver on a fly show that we had there, and I had all my rods lined up, and this was when we was just starting in graphite handles. And I had an 8-weight, and I made put a graphite fly handle on it, and I had it 4-piece, and I had it in 4 pieces laying on the table, and all the rest of my rods had cork handles on them. And this guy came by and he says, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, we've been putting graphite handles on our spinning and casting rods now for 2 years, and I didn't jump right on it with fly because how particular the fly fishermen are, and that they'd have probably poo-hooed it like they did graphite when it first came out, and all of this type of stuff. So he said, well, can I cast it? I said, sure. So we took a line off one of the other ones, we put it on it, put it together. God, he was gone for 2 hours. And he came back and he says, I said, well, what'd you think of the graphite handle? He says, I think that if you ever send me another fly rod with a cork handle on it, I'll send it right back. He says, I found out something today that I had never thought I'd see. I was casting the rod and I could feel something on my back cast. And I finally turned around and I looked and I could feel when the line opened, which I could never feel with a cork handle. So I knew exactly when I start my forward cast without even having to look back. He says, I wouldn't believe it unless I did it. And I said, well, thanks, because I didn't know that. It was so
Oh,
new.
it's unbelievable, Leo.
That's
Yeah,
incredible stuff.
unreal.
This is such a great podcast, you two. I'll
No.
tell you. I think we could go for another 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Chuck, he was the guy that asked how rod building has changed. He said, what about the thread? Has that changed over the years?
Yeah, we used to use C and D and this type of stuff. And when you use that big thread, then you have to put a lot more coating on it to saturate the thread. And then you've got weight. You got to remember when you go forward and you load that rod, now that energy has to recover the blank, the finish on the blank, that I never finish a blank because it's weight. Just to finish on a blank, if it's dip coated, it'll lose about 8% of its energy, and with a squeegee coat, it'll lose about 13%. So I just don't coat my blanks. But it's got to retrieve the thread, the finish on the thread, the guides, and all of this type of stuff. So you got to be very careful not to over guide it, but you got to be careful not to under guide it too. You got to have exactly the right amount of guides placed in the right state, and we've got a lot thinner on our thread so that we don't have to put so much finish on it to make it so thick. Our wraps now are probably half what they were 10 years ago.
That's huge. Efficiency, that's going to amount to more sensitivity, more energy, and a quicker dampening of your rod. I mean, it's all, and these are all the subtle things that make these great rods. Yeah, it really makes a huge difference.
You guys know a guy named Don Fuselier? Because he says, hello, Gary.
That
And
is,
hello, Danny.
yes,
You know that
that's right.
gentleman?
Oh, yes. Don's calling from, let's see, Mississippi? No, not, Donnie,
Yeah, that's
father-
my
your granddaughter's
son-in-law.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All
Hi,
right.
Don.
Hey,
The old guy forgot you, but I remember you. Your son's at my house, by the way.
Hey, Jimbo, so grateful. Thank you, Jimbo. He sends $20 and says, great stories, guys. Thank you so much. Jimbo, thank you so much. Labwork says, woven carbon reel seats have changed the game.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we count on him for. Gary has always set the bar in this industry, and that's the blessing we've had being around him all these years.
Fish Guy says, he's right too. I'm going to agree with this guy. This show is priceless. Thanks, Phil, Danny, and Gary, and everyone involved.
Well, thank you
It's
for
a
listening
great
to it.
show.
Yeah.
It's not.
Really.
It's great because we're getting the technical knowledge, but your behind the scenes stories are great. I love.
Trust me, that's
stuff.
only a fraction
Well,
of them.
we've also got a few we can't tell.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I bet Nick
yeah.
Persione's involved in a few of those.
Yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of those, Gary.
Oh, jeez.
Rob S., you guys are talking like when someone asked me about what gun should I get. I suggest something you can handle and be comfortable with. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yep.
matter of fact, you want to talk about guns, you could talk to him about that. He'll tell you just as much about a gun. And we're both kind of, I have a few too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. But yeah, no, it's fun. It's a great ride.
I love hunting. That's what's so great about outdoors. Fishing season, hunting season, fishing season, hunting season.
Yep, for sure. Steve Bermudez wants to know when you're going to write a book on rod building, Gary.
Dale Clemens wrote a book 20 years ago on rod building and dedicated it to me. But what Danny's laughing about
It's the video.
is
You and
a
Ken.
video, our first video, and
Oh, God.
we did it in my front room on the island, and we had Don Hobart. Do you remember the show High and Wild? I don't know if you're old enough. High and Wild. About one of the only shows I'd come out of the wild just to watch his show. He had a great show. So he was gonna film us for us, and Herb was going to narrate it, and me and Ken Weeby was going to show him how to make a rod, or wrap a rod and finish a rod. So, needless to say, we never did anything like this before. So every time that red light come on the camera, we just lost it. I mean, we couldn't say anything, we couldn't do anything, and then it was, now who's gonna talk first? We finally get it. Okay, Gary, you talk first. Okay, red light comes on. Shit, I'm on the floor. And so we go back and forth on this. So we finally get together, and we start to do it. Well, Ken Weeby, he was the master of rod building at that time. He's the one that kind of came up with that fish wrap and all of this type of
Super
stuff.
sticker, the handle, remember?
Yeah.
Things Ken did a lot. He was a
He did all of that stuff. So anyway, we got to one place, and we had a cardboard box. We had a little V cut the cardboard box. And so what we was going to do is show him how we wrapped the guide on. We checked the spine, wrapped the guide on, put the finish on, and all of a sudden we forgot to put the coating, the color preserver on. So we just put the color preserver on right over the top of the finish. Nobody knew. That's how bad it was, you know. Then it got down to the point of time that Ken was supposed to say, for the first 30 minutes, every 5 minutes, turn it a quarter turn. Well, Ken didn't say that. He said, for the first 5 minutes, every 30 minutes, turn it end for end. And then I'm just,
all you see is Gary's stomach from laughing.
I just have to back out of the camera.
It's a classic video, folks. If you ever find it, it's gold.
And so Ken turned to me and he says, "Did I really say that?" I said, "Yeah, we can show you on the film." Every 5 minutes
Classic
for the
moments.
first 30 minutes.
Had nothing on Dale Clemens, huh?
No, it's not in this book.
Oh, God.
Hey, a guy named Mitchell Halibut Man goes, "How could I be late for this?" He's really kicking himself, but it'll be archived tonight. You can start at the beginning and watch it. You'll be able to share it. It is gold. Labwork says, "Okay, guys, my name is Paul Blaumeyer. I first met Gary when he visited Australia back in the 90s.
Oh,
I was learning to build under the guidance of Greg Baker Shakespeare." That's who this gentleman is watching you right now. Gary. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I do. How you doing? We're doing pretty good down there now. I'm glad you're still fishing. I'm now 82, and I don't fish as much as I do, but I still like to talk the stories. You be good and take care.
All right. Anything else, Danny? Or?
Well, I mean, we just the tricks we pulled on each other, but that
Go
could
ahead.
last forever. No, I mean, over the years fishing together, some of the best places were the local places, or we go fish with Herb. And I just remember anything Gary did. I mean, Herb was very serious. Of course, we tried to be serious, but it didn't happen too often, you know. But I mean, Gary would hoard the bait, hide the bait. There's things that would go on typically that, being a sport fishing captain, this is my worst nightmare. Thank God he's up in Washington.
I always found out the guy with the bait catches the most fish.
But we did get even.
Nobody else catches any fish if they don't have the bait.
We did get even because Gary used to get seasick. Now on that trip on the Mustang,
Oh,
Gary'd be laying in the bunk and he had the
no,
patch on
I
his
was
ear.
just sleeping.
Yeah.
I used to have chronic seasickness. When I was in the Navy, the vice captain came to me and said, "Are you always laying there, or just when I walk by?" And I says, "I'm getting my job done." No, he says, "I know you do that," but he says, "You look terrible." I says, "I feel terrible." And he says, "Well, if you come in after we get in, I'll sign you chronic seasickness. You don't have to go to sea anymore." I says, "Sir, I joined the Navy to go to sea. I'm going to go to sea." Well, I was in it for 4 years, and I was seasick even the last year. I just had, unbelievable. So anyway, I got one of these 3-day patches and put it on the day before. So I mean, I'm set. Well, shoot, I went out there and I felt like $1 million. So anyway, when it was a kind of a dull time and we was running, everybody laid down in their bunk. Well, I'm laying down. I kind of dozed off, and then all of a sudden I thought,
we took his
what's going
patch
on?
off
And they're down there trying to scrape that damn patch off my neck.
by accident. It was by accident.
And then every once in a while I'd hear buoy 10, and it was Herb. Boo! So anyway,
Let me tell you something. This is a trip that you could on one of Dan Hernandez's archives, and I got the Mustang, and I think Red Lou running the boat. But we went from lift poling tuna, and we gave him a lift pole. These guys went absolutely bonkers,
we
giving
had
him a lift
fun.
pole and having him lift pole yellowfin tuna on the
Yeah,
Mustang.
yeah,
It
I
was so
loved
wide
it.
open.
And-
we went from lift poling to I nailed one on a fly because it was just a roll cast, a
It was
strip,
just
and bingo.
so
So we have everything on in the can on one of Dan's shows, Hernandez's shows, from lift poling to fly fishing tuna.
And the only reason that he tried that is we had torn the rigging off of all the rest of the 54 rods. I mean, they just ripped this up. One time, Ken lined of one end and went right into the bait deal, and I bet you about 30 baits come flying out of that. Didn't they?
Yep. Yeah, we had to pull the lift poles away from these guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, we didn't. He just started up and headed home. I said, but there's still fish. Not for you.
Then we get back to San Diego. I kid you not, we were a bloody mess. We had to get a whole hotel room to shower. I don't know whether we had to burn our clothes or what, but you remember we didn't want to get back into the rig because we were a bloody mess. It was unbelievable. But that was a good first experience for these guys. It was unreal. Yeah.
All right, hey, and Paul Blomeyer in Australia, he says he's still building and designing. He is absolutely loving this show, Gary. Says, what a blast. Thank you so much.
Well, we love him.
Australia, holy smokes.
Fish guy has a question. He says, is there a favorite exotic fish you caught on trips out of the country? And have you ever fished with Larry Dahlberg?
Yeah, I fished with Larry Dahlberg. Know him very well. Yeah, Larry was a high pressure, great fisherman. There was not very many people that was any better than Larry was.
Who was he exactly? Was he with a company or
In Fisherman Guys initially?
Yeah,
In
in
Fisherman Guys,
Fisherman, yeah. But he was he was one of the good guys.
We were going to go. You had asked me to go to Russia.
Yeah.
when you first open up
I had
Russia.
a camp in Russia for
Yeah, camp in
Atlantic
Russia,
salmon.
and I'm going, God, this is going to be an Atlantic salmon. I mean, when you're doing a back cast on one of these big rivers, and the line touches the back, and all of a sudden you go, the fly drops behind you, and a fish hits it. That's pretty wide open. So I'm thinking, oh my God, that's good. Gary's going, well, why don't you go? Why don't you go now? I'm flipping through this album. I see a crashed Aeroflot helicopter, and I go, oh my God, you know. I go, oh, okay, and I'm go through the pages. I see another crashed Aeroflot, and it's not the same chopper. And he goes,
And
well, they're
we
kind of
never-
held together with duct tape and rubber bands.
We never had any problem with any of our helicopters where we was at, but
Oh my God.
some of them did. But, the Fly Fisherman magazine in 1975 did a compiled information for all of the Atlantic salmon rivers in the world. And the best one was the Alta River in Norway. If you fished it every day of the season, you would average a half a fish a day. Now, the Panoy on the Kola Peninsula in Russia, we averaged 20 to 30 fish a day. I mean, it was absolutely out. And I'd say in the next 5 years, we had everybody that was anybody in the fly fishing industry on that river. It was that good. It was.
But
I stood-
and he had to bring all the material
Oh yeah, we.
from the U.S. over there because, well, tell them
Well,
about
we
the
bought-
difference about how, you think about Russia, you don't realize that it's not like going to stores here. You go to Home Depot for this, you go to
I
Costco for that. He'll tell you how he sourced stuff. He had to container everything and haul it.
Yeah, I
initially.
shot 2 Kodiak bears in one country, 11 time zones apart. Now, there's only one country in the world that's got 11 time zones in it. But Chuck Yeager and I hunted there in the deal, and
Chuck Yeager, the astronaut.
yeah,
Right.
it was broke sound barrier.
Sound barrier,
Yeah.
yeah. He got pictures all over him in the lodge.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he came to
Okay.
our Fish First banquets and sold a lot of trips for us and this type of stuff. But anyway,
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah.
Your favorite exotic fish? Do you have one? Don't get Nick
Probably-
Curcione involved in this one. I
uh,
know. I
probably,
know it is exotic fishes are.
yeah, probably a barramundi in Australia. That's probably as good as. But threadfin salmon now in Australia is also another good fish. I'll tell you a good story about it. We're up on Bath Hill Island. If in Australia where you got those 2 little peaks, that little kind of a deal, right above there's 2 islands. One of them's called Bathurst, and we went there for a fishing trip with my rep from Australia, and we got out there and we caught a lot of these threadfin salmon and a lot of other fish and this type of stuff. And one evening he says, "You want to hook a big fish?" No. I want to catch a big fish. He said, "Well, I can help you hook a big fish, but I can't help you catch it." I said, "You get me hooked up and I'll catch him." Yeah. So anyway, he gives me this solid white Zebco rod and a great big old Penn reel. Had no line on it. He has a spool this big around of line, 30-pound test line. And it's about a third gone. So I fill up the reel. And I get the deal. He tells me, here's the bait you use, and I fish them at night. And so we walk down the steps onto the sand, and I started, he said, whoa, where are you going? We're going to go out and cast out. He said, I wouldn't do that. So he took the flashlight and he shined down the island, and all there was is these eyes from these saltwater crocs. And he shined it down the other way. Well, I says, I think I can cast it out from here. I don't think I need to go any further than this. I mean, there was been 20 of them on each side.
Oh God.
That's why they had the boats lined up like this, kind of a guard from them, you know. So I cast out, and I held on for a while. Nothing. I stuck it down in one of the boats, and all of a sudden I get a creak, 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 and I get it out there. I get a tight line. I set that. Oh God, him. It's just like setting it on the bottom. All of a sudden, he just goes. Zzz, zzz. Well, shit. I'm tightening drags down. I'm doing everything else. My heels are starting to slide in the sand, and he just took all the line. And I says, well, it must have been one of those saltwater crocs. He says, no, you hook one of those and they come up. He says, these don't. And I said, well, God, I'll pick you up. So I filled up another spool, pulled it all off, got it right in the middle. You know, on those old pen reels, they had that little rivet sticking up. I put that little on that rivet and I reeled it on. Now I got half as the length, but now it's 60-pound test. I'll show that guy. Well, after he drugged me down up close to the water in those saltwater crocs, he finally got all the line again. I have no idea what it was. I always wanted to go back with like a 130-pound test and a great big spike and drive it in the deal, chain myself to it, and see what the hell they were. But I never did get back to see.
Oh, good.
Oh my
Now
God.
you guys
that's
got your
good.
bucket list spots.
In fact, that guy from Australia, maybe he can help me out.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of stuff up here right now. We'll go to him in a minute, but first of all, Steve Bermudas wants to know:
my
are you
God.
doing any of the upcoming shows? Fred Hall show, the PCS show, any
Well,
of those
we went
shows?
to quite a few of them, but Alex said we wasn't going to go too many shows this year because we don't have anything to sell at the shows because we're behind. So
Probably not then this year.
we may not go to the shows this year because of that. You know, we're selling online, and that way there we can sell the rods cheaper. And you know, before I'd sell a rod to a shop for $300. He'd sell it to them for $600. Well, now I can sell it to him for $400. He saves $2 and I make $100. Then I can take $100 and I can take that half of that and put it. I remember at Lima Glass and Loomis Composites and G Loomis, I'd have to pick between a $5 reel seat or a $10 reel seat. I had to pick the $5 reel seat because the $10 reel seat, after was doubled and doubled and doubled, it put me out of the price range I needed to be in. And now I don't have to. Now I can have the best reel seats, the best guides, the best handle, graphite handle. They're more expensive, but once you fish them, you won't ever go back.
All right, Paul
Yes, for
says
sure.
barramundi and threadfish fight and are really good to eat.
Yes.
He says Bathurst Island is one wild place.
Yes, it is.
Well, I gotta go there, man. That sounds so fun. I like that.
Ask him if he knows what that big fish is. I hooked two of them.
Hey, Paul, what was it? Come on, we want to know. We know you know.
Yeah, he must know. They live there.
Doug Tilt says, I just tuned in. Sorry I didn't make it down, but I'm ready to laugh. So, Gary, tell me some more stories about yourself and Danny. Man, we've been going
Holy
almost. You guys
smokes.
know we've been going for an hour and a half. You guys have been blah, blah, blah.
Piece of
You
cake.
got any other ones that you want to share with everybody before we call it a night?
I mean, what do you? I got stories about Disneyland that you guys will be choking on.
Let's hear it.
Well, anytime he came in, he's the biggest kid in the world. Of course, he's got his grandkids and everybody in right now, and they're going to be out there in Disneyland next
Day
several
after
days.
tomorrow.
Yep. But I mean, as reps at G Loomis, and when we go down there, you would have thought we were kids. I mean, and of course, we certainly acted like it. So I mean, that we fit the it was perfect for us. But I can remember this guy.
I,
Just some of the crazy stuff.
I had
He's a kid. He's a big kid. What can I tell you?
we had a ball.
We had, they were the best days. They really were. Good, clean fun. It was just, we're hurting from laughing so much. But,
All right, Jim, do you want to wrap it up or what?
Yeah, we'll go back and eat. Phil, you're coming to the house too,
Absolutely,
so yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
miss it.
All
Okay.
right. Well,
Guys,
folks, thanks for tuning in.
fantastic.
Thank you guys very much for tuning in and bringing back some good memories about those different places that I fished.
Oh, breaking news. That would be one of those big river potato cods.
Ha!
Jack
Ah!
Erskine used to go there testing drag system. Jack Erskine, I remember.
I
that
know
name.
Jack.
I don't know Jack.
Oh.
But I remember Nick must know him because
I
Jack
know.
Erskine, now Nick with that squeaky
He
voice.
was drag
Yeah.
fanatic.
Was he?
Yeah.
I think I did know Jack actually.
Oh, he was from here, and then he moved to Australia and fished the barrier reef.
Did Nick had some? I remember Nick talking about him all the time.
Yeah, no, he was one of the greats.
Well, guys, this has been
Unbelievable.
such a special show. Fantastic. I'll let you guys. You're like in the debate. You get your final comment now.
Now that was a potato cod.
Potato cod is what he said. Big river potato cod.
Well, let me tell you what, it's tough, mother.
Oh man. Well, you talk about blueprinting pen reels, but I mean, and now it's all machine stuff, and so you stand a chance on a lot of these fish now.
Yeah.
With the technology, and it's the same with the rods.
But I
and the line
guarantee,
and
I
everything.
guarantee you, you're going to drive a spike in that sand beach and chain yourself to it.
Well, and when you get all these between the rods, the reels, we are very blessed that the guy that developed Spectra came out of this landing with my sea daddy Russ Iser. You think about the technology that changed fishing around the world. A lot of it was right here, Gary.
Yeah.
Right here.
Oh yeah.
Right here.
Well, that's what I said when I come to
our
these
real
shows.
guys, you know.
I learned more at these shows from these fishermen than that's where I have to give my thanks to. I talked to so many great fishermen, and they know what they want in a rod. Then you just got to make it. Listen to them.
Absolutely. That's how you learn, folks.
I may not be the best fisherman in the world, but I can fish with the best fisherman in the world and find out what he wants or needs.
That sounds like a great way to end this show.
You got it.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.